Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Nedarim Daf Lamed. We are on Chav Tesamad base, 3 lines from the bottom. We're in the midst of a story where this fellow gets up and says, look, these young trees, these netiyos, are considered kodesh until they are cut down. What does the Mishnah say? Ein lahem pidyon. There's no redemption. There's no pidyon. You can't give the value of this tree in order to remove that kedusha from the tree. Says Bar Pada, guess what? Even if you do pidyon, and the pidyon does remove the kedusha, then the kedusha comes back. It bounces back. That's what the Mishnah meant when it said Ein lahem pidyon. There's no effective means of transferring the kedusha, of removing the kedusha, because after all, you have said, you committed, this thing will be kaddish until it's niktzat, until it's cut down. As long as it's standing, as long as it's growing, the kedusha will reestablish itself, will be reapplied. Says the Gemara, Yosef Rabbi Avin. So Rabbi Avin was sitting, Rabbi was, they're both sitting, Kamed Rabbi Yirmiyah, in front of the Rabbi Yirmiyah, v'kamenamnim Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah was at that point dozing off, and the Talmidim are now conversing amongst themselves. Yasvi v'ka'amri. They're sitting and saying like this: LeBar Pada de Amar. According to Shitas Bar Pada, interesting, Pada lashon pidyon. So according to him, the Amar Padan chayzos v'kaychos. Even after you do the pidyon, the kedusha bounces right back onto it. If that is the case, let's draw a parallel to a similar situation and conclude the halacha. Likewise, let's bring a ra'aya from here to Rav Oshia's question regarding kedusha isha. A fellow hands 2 coins to a wife, to a isha who is right now unmarried, in order to be mekadesher, to make her his wife. He explains to her as follows: why 2 coins? One is enough. Well, one is for now, and the other one for later. Ba'achas, his kacheli hayim. Coin 1 will affect kedushin between us today. Uba'achas, the point of the second coin is his kachi lila achas shagarshich. I have plans to divorce you, and I want to remarry you. That second coin will re-establish the kedushin, will help me regain you as a wife post-divorce. Does it work or not? Meaning, the first coin certainly is effective. It activates kedushin right now. Suppose he divorces. He goes ahead with his plan. Is she automatically back his wife or not? That was his question. Well, hachinami, dahavu kedushi. It would appear that we can draw a parallel from our Gemara, from Pada's halacha, that yes, you can actually program a future kedusha, a future kedushin. Is that so? In the meantime, Rabbi Yirmiyah, the Rebbe, became alert again, shook off his sleepiness, and apparently he was already listening in to this conversation, and he had a response. Amar lahu, my kamad. How could you compare the 2 situations? Padan hu, in our Mishnah, we are speaking with he himself, the Magdish, the one who triggered the kedusha, actually redeemed it, so it went back into his possession. So now the kedusha has where to land. It never left his possession. It was either his or Hegdish. It started as his, it went to Hegdish, came back to him, and now the commitment regenerates, reactivates. It becomes Hegdish again, because it always was within his realm, either by him or by Hegdish. That's why it works. But how could you compare it to Kedusha Isha? For instance, if another person would redeem this item, I magdish the tree, somebody else comes along, does pidyon, and then let's say gives me the tree back. Do you think the initial declaration of perpetual Kedusha can affect the tree right now? Of course not, because that process was terminated. It was disconnected once it got to that other person, where I have no right, I have no access. So even if it comes back to me, that original commitment can no longer reactivate the Kedusha. Once the process has been terminated, likewise by Kedusha Isha. Once you megarish the Isha, she's back in her own hands. She's left your Rishus. And therefore, your process has been discontinued. How can you entertain that your original Kedushin, fine, it's a double Kedushin, one for now, one for the future, but the process has been terminated, has been disconnected by the very fact that you've divorced her and she's back in her own hands, where you don't have access. In fact, Rabbi Yehuda made this distinction regarding the Kedusha and the Netiyos, the trees in our Mishnah. When we say that there's a constant, perpetual, recurring Kedusha, that's only if he redeemed it. But if others got involved and they redeemed this tree, it's over. You no longer have control over the process. If others will pay it, there's no Kedusha coming back. And the same thing with the Isha. Isha, once she's divorced, she's back home. It's akin to the case where others came along and took hold and took possession of this item. When do we say there is a recurring Kedusha by the trees? If he redeemed it. So it's back by him, so the Kedusha reapplies. If others got involved and they did the opinion, now it's theirs. The Kedusha no longer reapplies itself. So they figured they had a raya. The Gemara disconnects the two types of cases. Says the Mishnah, we're going to have several halachas concerning lishonos, expressions, and what they mean in terms of nedarim. This fellow says, look, I want to keep away with a neder from all those sea travelers. So he's referring to a certain class of people who regularly travel the high seas. For some reason he has a vendetta against them. So who is included in this label? Who's classified as a Yardei Hayam? Only seafarers. But Mutar B'yesh V'Yabasha. He's allowed to interact with people who live on dry land, who don't travel the seas on a regular basis. But B'yesh V'Yabasha, he says, I'm keeping away from land dwellers. This time it includes everybody. Asar Yardei Hayam, it includes even travelers at sea. Why? Yardei Hayam, because even sea travelers eventually end up on dry land. Michlal Yesh V'Yabasha. And the Mishnah concludes, we're not speaking about short trippers, the ones that travel just between Akkoy and Yafa. It's just a short trip. It's less than a day-long trip. That's a local excursion. We're not speaking about those people. Ella b'misha darkei lefarish, rather specifically a fellow whose livelihood compels him to travel. He's a regular sea voyager. Now, this last statement in the Mishnah, it's not the short travelers, it's the long travelers. What is this referring to? We have two ways to understand this. Rav Papa and Rav Ach Breder Rav Ika. Chad Masni Aresha. One of these Amoraim explained that this statement in the Mishnah is coming to elaborate on that first expression in the Mishnah, and eventually it's going to end up being a leniency, a kula, generated from this interpretation. V'chad masnei Seifa, the other Amira, learned that the statement in the Mishnah, differentiating between the local traveler and the long-distance traveler, is meant as an elaboration to the second halacha in the Mishnah. We're going to see. Man Tani Aresha, the one who applied it to the Resha, learned like this. Masni hachi. Mishnah begins. Hayam. Mutar b'yesh v'yabasha. He says, neither from the sea travelers, okay, keep away from them, but you can interact with the land dwellers, the ones who don't embark on these voyages. Now, ha b'yardei hayam asu. So clearly, you cannot interact with yardei hayam. But you're meant to know that only certain specific people, the real, hardcore travelers, are included in this description. We're not speaking about just local travelers. The Halin Yeshvi Abashaninu. They're not called Yardei Hayam, rather, they are classified as Yeshvi Abasha and not included in your neder. It's only speaking about those real, serious sea travelers. So according to this, it's a kula. Yardei Hayam includes only this serious sea travelers. The other Amira, who apply this stipulation to the second part of the Mishnah, will end up generating a chumrah. Masni Hachi learns like this. The second halach in the Mishnah reads, Hanoider miyashvi abasha, asur b'yardei hayam. You're committed to keeping away from land dwellers. You should know you can't interact with sea travelers as well. Why? Because the Mishnah says ultimately everybody relates to land. And here comes a chumrah. Don't think when you say Yeshvi Abasha, you include just a slight local sea travelers, because they're also considered land dwellers. They're not really those that travel out into the high seas. No, not only those are included. Even a serious sea traveler. He's also included in Yeshvi Abasha. You know why? Ultimately, his destination is dry land, and therefore he's included. So bottom line is, according to approach number one, the Akoy L'Yafei traveler is not included in Yardei Hayam, whereas in Pshat 2, he is included. Here come some more examples of expressions and their interpretation in terms of Nedarim, which follows the concept of B'Nedarim Halich Achar Loshan B'nei Adam. When it comes to Nedarim, we follow, the way words are commonly said and interpreted. A fellow says, I'm keeping away from those who are roya the cham, they see the sun. What does that mean? What about blind people? Asur af besumen. Even blind people are included? Why? He didn't mean one who has the ability to see. It's just an expression, just a reference. A class of people, a class of creatures, so to speak, who are affected by the sun, who benefit from the sun, who can appreciate the sun, even if it's only in theory, even if in practice he can't see it, but he's under the influence of the sun. He enjoys the sun. He could have said, I'm making a neder from royin, those who can see. He didn't say that. Roye hacham, isn't that a strange way of referring to people? Apparently he meant anybody affected by the sun. And the Gemara explains, my time, why do we suggest this interpretation rather than just literally that he meant people who can see as opposed to a blind man? But they're like, in fact, he didn't say min haroyin, seers. Rather, he said merei chamo. He meant those that are able to appreciate the sun. Lafuki dogim v'ubrim, as opposed to fish who are embedded in the water, not under the jurisdiction of the sunlight, v'ubrim, and unborn children. And the Tosfos adds that it's only referring to ba'alei chayim, as opposed to plants and things that grow. And that's why he used the word royin, royei hachama, those who can see the sun. So even though we learn it to mean the sun sees them, but the fact is he did use the word, he did refer to them as seeing the sun. So it means that a Baal Chai who has eyes, and therefore this type of reference is applicable to the Baal Chai. He's somebody who has eyes, so the concept of seeing and being seen applies to him. Continues the Mishnah. He says, I'm keeping away from the black-headed people with black hair. What about a bald person? Also, bekerchen, he can't interact with bald people either. Ubali sevis, and even older people with white hair. Shchayre Heroish is a reference to a certain class of individuals, men. who are referred to in that manner. Umutar b'noshim b'ktanim, you can interact with women who have their hair covered, b'ktanim, youngsters, who typically go around bareheaded. She'ein nikroyin shcheir harosh ela noshim. Shcheir harosh, black-headed individuals, is a reference to men. My time and why? Why we included even bald people? It could have simply said, I'm keeping away from people with hair. He didn't say that. Apparently, he's including even bald people. But only men. Umutar b'noshim. Ubektanim, she'ein nikroyin shcheir harosh ela noshim. My time and why? Why is shcheir harosh a reference to men? Because anoshim, when it comes to men, zimnin de mechasu reshayu, v'zimnin de megalu reshayu. At times their head is covered, at times their hair is uncovered. So the only real way to refer to all men is just say shcheir harosh. A group of people who are black-headed, who are typically black-headed. Sometimes they're bald or white-haired. It doesn't matter, but on the whole, on the majority, on the rave, that's what they are. So it makes sense to tag them as such, as shcheir harosh, as opposed to women and children who are not described in this manner. Women are always covered. It seems from the Tiferes Yisrael, he says even goyim are not included because in the olden days even non-Jewish women would cover their hair. Interesting. As opposed to youngsters are bareheaded, and therefore, if he would have meant them, he would have said it differently. He would have said the ones that have their hair covered, the ones that have their hair uncovered. The fact that he called them shcheir harosh, apparently he means grown men, with shcheir harosh being the only reasonable way to refer to them. Continues the Mishnah. The fellow says, I'm keeping away from those that were already born. Yiloidim is a past tense. Already born. Mutar b'nei ladam, he can interact with those who as of now are not yet born and will be born in the future. So Yiloidim is a past tense. Neiladim is a future tense. If he says, min ha-neiladim, I'm keeping away from those that will be born in the future, asher min ha-yiloidim, he can't even interact with those that have already been born. Why? Because neiladim is a general reference to anybody that has experienced birth or will experience birth. Rabbi Meir disagrees. Mater af be-yiloidim, he says, look, just like by yiloidim, where it's past, you say neiladim is okay. Likewise, when you say neiladim, which is a reference to future, don't include those that are already born. They are yiloidim, not neiladim. So it's one or the other. Chachamim disagree. Chachamim imrim. Although when it says yiloidim, it's a past tense, not including those in the future, but neiladim can also be referring to the general idea of a fellow who is darkly valid, who is meant to experience the birthing process, whether he had already experienced it or will do so in the future. Now Rabbi Meir used the word mater af be'yiloidim. So again, a fellow said neiladim, he's mater even in those that are already born. So who's asur? Future a mutter, past as mutter. So Rabbi Meir v'lo miboy neiladim. So when you say you mutter even on those who are already born, and goes without saying that the ones that are as yet unborn are also mutter. Eloman asar. So who did he make asar? The answer is chasura mechsra. The mission is meant to be learned as though it's missing some words, and read it as follows. We start hanoider marhiyiloidim mutter b'nei ladim. You meant past, you're mutter in the future. Menanei ladim, you meant the future. Asar b'yiloidim, you're asar in the past. Because according to Chachamim, neiladim can be interpreted as a reference to future and past. Rabbi Meir Omer, no, it's one or the other. Just like when you say yiloidim, it's past, and does not include future. Likewise, when you say neiladim, it's future and not the past. Rabbi Meir Omer, afa noidim neiladim, mutter b'yiloidim. The same if you say neiladim, it's future, and you're still allowed in those that are already born. Just like in the first case, it's one or the other. The noidim and hayiloidim, when you say yiloidim, which is the past, already born, mutar b'neiladim, you're allowed to interact with those that will be born in the future. So it's one or the other. Do you mean to say the word neiladim is a reference to those that are as yet unborn? What about the pasuk where Yaakov Avinu tells Yosef Atzadik, Shnei bonecha neiladim l'cha be'eretz Mitzrayim? Your two sons, Ephraim and Menashe, who are neiladim, they were already born. Hachanami deis yalidan. You mean they're going to be born? Deis yaldan who? Of course, they're already born. Velamai the lidu mashma. Okay, so what do you think? Noilad means it's a reference to those already born. Elamiata. What about the other pasuk? Hine ben noilad ben lebeis David Yeshio Shemai. So there's a nevuah from Hashem. There's going to be a child born in the future to the house of David with the name Yeshio. Noilad, right? The future. Hachanami dahava. Do you mean to say Noilad is already describing something that happened? It never happened yet. V'adayin Menashe leba. Menashe, who is the grandfather of Yeshio, has not yet arrived. So Noilad certainly is a reference to the future. So you must say, Ela mashmahachi, mashmahachi. You're right. The word Noilad can be a reference to past or future. That's in terms of the psukim. But when it comes to Nedarim, that is determined by common folk expression. U'b'nedarim halech achar shlosha bnei adam. So now the question is, what is the lashon bnei adam? What did this fellow mean when he said neiladim? That's the machlekes. Chacham say neiladim in common folk expression is a reference to future and past. Rameh disagrees. Neiladim is strictly the future. It's interesting to note that the Vilna Gaon switches the nekudes in the Mishnah. We have a noider min hayiloidim. That's the way the Ran seems to learn. But in the Hagos Agra, he switches it to yiludim. Yiludim. So it's a shva yih instead of yiloidim. It's yiludim. A reference to pol, something which already happened. Those already born. It would seem that the Gaon was troubled by the Ran's interpretation of the Mishnah, because the Ran himself brings, just like we find conflicting references to the word noilad, future, past, and we have to work it through. Likewise, we find that the word yiloid can be alluding to future and alluding to past. We have a pasuk, Kol ha'am hayiloidim amidbar, that's past, and we have Kol haben hayiloid haya'eret hashlichu, it's future. And the Ran brings those two psukim, and he says that in Lashon Bnei Adam we figure Yiloidim is past, but the Gemara does not make reference to the fact that Yiloidim can have two interpretations in the psukim, but when it comes to Lashon Bnei Adam Nedarim, we determine it to be past. So perhaps the fact that the Gemara omitted any reference to this conflicting interpretation of Yiloidim as well, right? The Gemara does not bring that. In contrast to the Gemara that discusses Noiladim in great length, why doesn't the Gemara make reference to the same issue with Yiloidim? We have two psukim, one this way, one that way. It's all about common expression, Lashon Bnei Adam. So perhaps that prompted him to switch the girsa in the Mishnah. Instead of Yiloidim, which can have a conflicting interpretation, it's Yiludim, which is outright a reference to past. And therefore there's no discussion on machlekes. Everybody agrees Yiludim is past. So again, Noiladim can either mean future or past. That's as per the psukim. But when it comes to Lashon Bnei Adam, Meir maintains it's always future. Chacham say future and past. So what did he mean to exclude? Born, unborn, yet born. He's alluding to all those who experience birth as opposed to whom? Anybody out there that's not being born? Yes. Lafuke mai as opposed to whom? Lafuke dogim ba'ifais, fish and birds who hatch and are not born. Okay, so bottom line is a person can make a recurring kedusha. You can say this will be kaddish until it gets cut down, so that when he does pidyon, the kedusha pops right back onto it, provided he made the pidyon and it stayed within his realm. But if it goes to somebody else, he no longer has access or control on the process. Likewise, when it comes to kedusha isha, we have that same shaila: can he make a kedushin now, for now, and for post divorce? Well, that's a question which we leave undecided. We have several expressions of Nedarim, which present interesting scenarios. We have Yordei Hayam, which include the high sea travelers, as opposed to land dwellers that are not included. What about Yeshvei Habasha? Land dwellers includes even sea travelers, because ultimately they identify with dry land. Royei Hachama includes even the Suman, but excludes fish and unborn children. Shchere Harosh includes white-haired people and bald people, as opposed to women and children. Yiloidim is in past tense, as opposed to future. No, Yiloidim is a future tense and also includes the past in terms of Lashon Bnei Adam of Nedarim, that's the Chachamim Shita, and is only excluding the Dagim Va'efes, as opposed to Rameir who says, Noiladim is strictly future. Be well and have much Atzlacha.